Hey, good morning, everybody. Just wanted to jump in here today again with another podcast from Live and Raw Business Breakthroughs. I'm so glad you guys are here with me today. The last few weeks, we've been covering goal setting and planning. And today I want to kind of just bring it all together in a simple format that will allow you to actually set goals for your personal life and your business, allow you to take and plan out what that needs to look like and how it's going to happen and how you're going to achieve them. And then also implement what I call flawless execution, which comes from a really good book by the name of the same title, where you can actually take that plan and put it into an execution strategy and go out and make it happen. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So a couple of weeks ago, we talked about goal setting. And so one of the big things that we've identified, or at least I've identified in talking with a number of business owners and a number of people, that they do a lot of business planning, or sometimes they do business planning, but very few of them do any actual goal setting for their personal life. They do the goal setting for the business and not for the personal. I want to encourage you guys today, and I spoke about this before, but I want to encourage you guys to look at setting goals for your personal life. What kind of lifestyle do you want to have in your business, right? Not your business. What kind of lifestyle do you want to have? Period. Let's look at it that way. What kind of place, where do you want to live? What kind of cars do you want to drive? What kind of time do you want to have doing the fun things with your family, right? The important things. What does that look like? Do you guys want to travel? And so based on all of those things that you would like to have, I kind of encourage you to set 3 goals. A lofty goal, like your moonshot, is, if everything went good and we can do anything we want, this is the lifestyle we want to have. Then one that's kind of a step down from that, saying, if everything went great but not perfect, this is where we'd end up being. And if we could have everything we needed and a few things that we want, this is what it would look like. And the reason why I'm talking about those 3 different goals is there's a dollar value that you need to attach to all of that, because we live in this wonderful world of a monetary system. And the issue is most people don't talk about money, right? We don't talk about how much we make. We don't talk about what we do with our money. We don't talk about paying the bills. We don't talk about living on a budget. We don't talk about any of that stuff. And so I'm going to encourage you to do is have those conversations about money with your family. Ask them, what would we like to do? And then put a dollar sign on how much is it going to all cost to do that. And then what we're going to do is the next step is to now that we know what your lifestyle wants to be like, the low, the middle, and the high, let's talk about how your business will help you achieve that lifestyle instead of the other way around. All right, so let's start setting some goals for your business. And I like using a rule of thumb of 50% gross profit margin for all the contractors that I work with. That way they make sure that they cover themselves and pay themselves enough. So let's say, for example, you're earning $1 million, right? And you'd like to have that $1 million lifestyle. Well, for you as a contractor to have that $1 million lifestyle, you'd almost have to make $2 million or more, 2.5 million, so that you've got enough profit that you can live on and give yourself that lifestyle. So most business owners don't think of it that way. So let's take it a step back. So you want to have a $500,000 a year lifestyle or a $200,000 a year lifestyle. $200,000 in your business. If you're a contractor, a plumber, electrician, framer, painter, whatever, and you want to generate $200,000 a year for your family so you can go do the fun things you want to do, have the lifestyle you want, live where you want, you're going to need to generate at least $450,000 so that you can cover that in your business. Does that make sense? Right? So let me share with you just a really good tool that I've helped create and develop over the years. Because, when most people start talking about business planning, the deer in the headlight look kicks in and the brain fog sets in and they start going, oh. And so you shut down because overwhelmed. I don't know how to do it. So you don't. And the problem with that is if you don't know how to plan and you're not asking for help, you're planning to fail. Does that make sense? So let me encourage you to plan so that you can succeed instead of plan to fail, right? So if you don't plan, you're planning to fail. Make sense? I'm trying to remember who said that, some wise guy. way beyond my years of experience and knowledge and wisdom said that, and I picked it up in a book somewhere, and I'm sure it's been said 100 times. But you know, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. That's exactly the quote right there. So let's talk a little bit about what we need to do in planning. You know, let's first of all identify what is the objective that we want to achieve in our plan. Like, why do we want to plan? What are we trying to do? So set your objectives, set your outcome. And this can be preliminary. It can be like, you know, moonshot kind of stuff like we talked about in your goal setting for your personal life. Do the same thing in your goal setting for your business, right? Great, mediocre, and average. And then, you know, what's the outcome? What is going to be the outcome for all three of those? What do you want to, what is the objective that you are trying to achieve? Now, don't forget in putting down your stuff for your objectives, you know, it really comes down to around about 5 things or 3 things that you want to be able to do. Is you want to be able to increase your customers, increase your revenues, and increase your profitability. Those are typically the 3 targets, 3 goals, 3 outcomes that you want to target for in your business, right? So once you've got the objectives set down, what are the SMART goals that you need to put around those objectives so that you can achieve them, right? And when you talk about SMART goals, like we talked about earlier, they need to be specific, right? And that's really, really important, because in what I found in my own goal setting is I was very good visionary. I could set pretty big pies in the sky kind of stuff. But when it come in the moment of choice to do the action I needed to do to move it forward, I sometimes didn't always make the right choice. And the simple reason for that was because I wasn't connected to the prize. I never set a prize for my goal. So if you achieve your goal, what's your reward going to be? And this is really important. What is the reward that you want to have for your goal, right? So for example, for me this year, you know, if we hit our second quarter goals, my prize is going to be buying an off-road race truck. I'm super stoked about that. And I don't know if you guys know me or not, but I love off-road stuff. And if it can go fast or climb rocks or, you know, possibly hurt me, I'm into it. I am getting older, so I got to be a little bit more careful about the hurt side of things. But my 18-year-old brain says I can still do a lot of stuff, right? So I just have to be careful how to listen to it. So when we talk about, you know, SMART goals, specific, when we're looking at how to set that prize for ourselves, I want you to spend some time envisioning it, because this is powerful. You want to be able to sit in your mind and envision you achieving your prize. Like, you've achieved your goal. Here's your prize. What is it? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? Where does it get you to go? What kind of things can you do with it? And be really, really granular in this. Get really good into it. You know, spend 15, 20 minutes, half an hour even, in thought, deep thought about what that feels like. And the most important thing is, what does it feel like? Because in the moment of choice, when you're trying to decide what you should do next, whether you should just, you know, you're tired, you want to veg on the couch, binge on some Netflix, or, you know, make that decision to move towards your goal. If you've made that connection with the feeling of you achieving that prize, your brain won't let you binge flick Netflix. It's going to say, go make a phone call. And you'll go do that. It's not going to happen like that. It takes time to develop, but it will happen. So keep spending time envisioning your prize, and it will happen for you guys. So once you have the goal, once you've made it specific and you set a prize, is it measurable? How can we measure whether we can attain it or not? So when we look at our business revenues, number of customers, and profits, we can really put numbers to those so we can measure it. But if it's anything outside of that, you know, increase customer retention, you know, what do you want to increase customer retention by? Put a number to it, right? I want to, let's say, for example, I'd like to climb Mount Kilimanjaro as a personal goal. So is that measurable? Yeah, it can be. How high do you want to go up? Are you taking the steps you need to get in condition for that? Otherwise, you know, and this might be the second step, is it achievable, right? If you're you know, I don't want to use the word couch potato, but if you're a couch potato and you have dreams of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro and you're not doing any activity to get you into shape to do that, it's not going to be attainable for you, right? So maybe let's look at, going for a walk a mile a day. And, in 6 months, you will be in shape to consider climbing a mountain. Maybe not Mount Kilimanjaro, but, one that's much smaller. And you take these small incremental steps that'll get you there, right? So we talked about measurability. No, we talked about achievability, right? Is it realistic? That's the next step. Is it a realistic goal to try and climb Mount Kilimanjaro? Especially if you're maybe 30 or 40 pounds overweight. Not probably a good thing to do, right? Do you have the resources to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, right? Do you have the money to get you over there to hire the guy with all the equipment? Is that reasonable? Is that realistic? If you don't have the resources, then you need to take a step back and go, let's reassess our goal. Instead of the goal being climb Mount Kilimanjaro, let's take a step back and go, maybe we need to look at finding the resources so that we can go climb Mount Kilimanjaro, right? It could be a sub goal of that if you want to break it into a number of sub goals, milestones, right? So smart goals, specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, and realistic. And the last one is time. Put a timestamp to it. I am going to gain 50% more customers by the end of Q2 2021. It's a good example. That is a very measurable time frame. Not only is it a measurable time frame, but it's also a measurable goal, right? So I want you to think about in your business, whether it's electrical or plumbing or contracting or deck building, painting, whatever those are. Think about how much more revenue you need. And based on how much revenue you need, how many more customers does that you need to bring in? And then we can go through a process on how you can figure that out, breaking it down step by step. So next is making some assumptions for the planning. Now we've got our objective set and we've got our goals set. Now let's make some assumptions around planning. And these are the things that we don't know if they're true or false, or we don't know if they're accurate or not. And so based on those, we have to make some assumptions around, hey, is my pricing correct? So, based on, widget X being $100, is that the right price that's going to help us to achieve our goal? So we're going to make the assumption that that is the right price until we can test it or prove that it's true or false, right? What resources do we need? Do we need any, or do we need everything? And so those assumptions are, we need this, 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 and this. So for example, painting, resources, we need a ladder, we need some paint rollers, we need some paint, and we need a customer, right? So those are essentially the resources. Now, those are some assumptions that that's all we need, but that could change. We might need tape for cutting in. We might need brushes for cutting in. We might need some of those other things that, painters need to add to, and or a truck even to add to get to the job site. So what are those assumptions that we have to make around those things, right? And then what we're going to do is, once we've got the assumptions, who needs to be involved in the process? If you're an army of one, obviously it's just you. But if you have a team, who needs to be involved in the process for planning? Who needs to be involved in the process for delivery of the job? And who needs to be involved in the process for completion, right? And who's involved in the paperwork on the other side, the back end of your business, right? What tools, templates, scripts, or processes do you need, or do you think would be required? So you make some assumptions around, we need this, this, and this, right? Where do we need to go, right? What's our focus does it need to be? What's our target have to be? So when we look at our, from a marketing perspective, what's our demographic or our target that we're looking after? And we have to make some of those assumptions, right? When do we need to have this done by? The assumption is, if we go back to my Mount Kilimanjaro example, we're going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro by June 31st, 2021, and 50 pounds overweight. It's probably not going to happen. First of all, not because I don't want to, but because for me to be able to lose the weight and be in condition and trained enough to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, not possible. Can I be in 6 months trained and ready to climb a smaller mountain? Possibly, right? So we have to look at those incremental steps. So, these are what we call milestones, and we'll get to that in a minute. Once we've got those pieces done, right? Who needs to be involved? What tools do we need to have? Where do we need to go? What do we need to have this done by? Once we have those assumptions in place, now we can start putting in numbers into our budgeting. And I also have a template. If you guys want to DM me later, I'll send you a spreadsheet template on cash flow creation. So cash flow forecasting. And it's really just a simple, put the numbers in, change some formulas for your pricing, and it will start to populate out, what your cash flow forecast could look like over the next 12 months if you do certain things and achieve certain milestones. And it makes it relatively easy using that cash flow projection to help you figure out whether your goals are achievable or attainable, or they're not big enough, right? And that's important to look at as well. Because sometimes when you start looking at your goals and then you start putting a plan together, you start to realize that, hey, if I follow this plan, this goal is easily attainable. And sometimes most business owners, we don't look at the value of planning simply for that aspect, and we miss it because we get, oh, it's too complex, I can't do it, it's overwhelming. And so we don't. So I want, my whole goal here today is to help you guys get out of the complexity into the simplicity and plan your business. Take an hour, take 2 hours, maybe 3 hours even, and plan out your next steps for 2021 and put an action plan to it, which is what I'm trying to share with you guys today, and kick it into high gear, right? So once we got the cash flow forecast, we're going to look back at, refining our objectives and the budgeting. Now, the idea behind that is based on what I just said. If you've done the cash flow and you realize that, if we do these simple steps, we can really 2x our revenues, then our objective's not set big enough. Or if we look at the cash flow and we go, holy crap, we can't do that. Then we need to back down and say, look, based on the activity that needs to go into this, we can't achieve that objective because we don't have the resources. So let's make a smaller objective and then redo the cash flow. So the idea is to refine and improve it until you're very satisfied that it is achievable, and it's going to make you stretch, but it's still achievable, right? So refine the objectives, right? And then step 6 is milestones and measurements. Now, these are the mini steps that I talk about in how to achieve our objective. So we use the example of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. What are the milestones that we need to hit there? So let's take me, for example. I'm 50 pounds overweight, and I want to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro. That's my goal for this year. And I go through the process. I set the budget, realize, what? I can't climb Mount Kilimanjaro this year, but what? Maybe I can climb one of the local mountains over here, the Three Sisters, right? Mount Lady Mac, for example, in Canmore. I can go climb that one by the end of Q2 if I do the condition training. So the first milestone is do the condition training by this date, right? So, in the condition training, the milestone could be lose 50 pounds by Q2, and in the process, get prepped for climbing Mount Lady Mac in Canmore. So that's milestone 1. Milestone 2 could be, now that we've climbed Mount Lady Mac, we need to go get some mountaineering training where we use ropes and harnesses and all that good stuff. And then we climb the next bigger mountain where it's a beginner's mountain for mountaineering, where you actually do use ropes and stuff like that. So, that'll be the second milestone. The third milestone will be going to the next level of mountain where you actually have to use a lot more equipment, and it's a lot higher, and you have to be more prepared, right? So those are the milestones we're talking about. So if we go back and we look at it from a business perspective, let's take the painter, for example, or the electrician. The first milestone is planning your business, right? You don't have the processes in place to get you to that $1 million revenue or the $2 million revenue. So what's the first thing you need to look at doing? Well, based on your plan, how you're going to gain more revenue is to increase the number of customers. So milestone number 1 should be, I want to increase our customer count by 20% by Q2. And then there's going to be a bunch of little mini pieces in there how you're going to do that. And that comes down to your marketing and your sales plan. But those will be sub milestones, if you will, right? So first sub-milestone will be create a marketing plan. Second one will be execute on the marketing plan. Third one will be close the sales. And then your big milestone is have increased your customer count by 20%, which results in increased revenue, which results in increased profitability. Does that make sense? So in that process of we going through these milestones, we want to make sure we identify what the milestones are and who's accountable for them and when they need to be done by. So for example, if you're an army of one, whatever milestone it is, you're the one that's accountable for it. You just have to write the milestone, put a date to it. So if you're not an army of one, if you have some staff with you, you want to include them in this process and identify what these milestones are and who's going to be accountable for them, and then when the date's going to be done by. And the reason why you want to figure out who's accountable for them is because they're going to be the ones responsible for building their mini plan to achieve that milestone, right? So let's say, for example, you've got a sales manager and his goal is to increase sales by 10%. And he's totally responsible for the outbound and the inbound sales calls. Now, he's got to build a sales plan or a marketing plan and or a small business plan around, which is exactly what I'm sharing with you guys here, around how he's going to achieve that specific to his accountability area. As the business owner, you've got multiple accountability areas that you have to do. We're talking about just taking one topic, one objective, and then move it together and make that happen, right? So what I want you to do is in the process of identifying what your milestones are, sometimes it's hard to figure out what those are, but let me show you a little quick hack that's really easy. Start with your $1 million goal at the end of the year, if that's what it is, or if it's 2 million or 3 million or 5 million or 10 million, whatever it is, or maybe it's only 500,000, whatever that goal is, work your way backwards through the cash flow statement, cash flow forecast. That's the word I was looking for. Work your way backwards through the cash flow forecast. And then it's 6 months, what does the number say? That's going to be milestone number 2, right? Let's work on the 4 quarters as your milestones. Quarter 1 is milestone, right? So based on your cash flow statement of quarter 1, what does the revenue need to be? What do the customers need to be? Those are your milestones. What activities have to happen to be able to increase your customer count or your profitability in those areas, right? And do the same thing for milestone 2, milestone 3, milestone 4. Then underneath each one of those milestones, when you go to do that plan for that milestone, you can break it down into smaller subgroups of smaller milestones. Well, for us to be able to create the revenue that we're looking for in Q1, we need to develop our marketing plan. We need to develop a sales plan. We need to develop a social media plan, right? So those will break down into smaller pieces. You can get very complicated with this. I want you to keep it high level, keep it simple so that you can at least get into the planning process and start to figure it out. If you guys need help with any of this, feel free to reach out. I'll be more than willing to help you out because as I said before, and I say often, my goal is to create world abundance through business success. And if I can't help you grow your business, I'm not doing you a service. So let me help you grow your business, right? So that's step number 6, milestones and measurement, right? Being able to figure out what you need to do and how you do it. Now, those first 6 steps are basics of your strategy plan. Or, if you want to call it a business plan, you can call it your business plan. The idea being is it's a simple working document that you look at daily or weekly to help you keep you on track with your business. Now, the stuff I really wanted to talk to you about today, right, that was just reviewed. So today we're going to talk about step 7, which is what I call flawless execution, which is the term I borrowed from the book, Flawless Execution, by the same title. It's a really great book. Don't have it here with me, but I will put in the comments who the author is, and you guys can go read that book. But essentially it's a 5-step process where you plan, you brief, you execute, you debrief, you replan, and you do it all again. I've thrown one more piece into it, and I'll just kind of go through it here with you guys right now. So in your planning, your planning is high level. It's just you or your executive team figuring out what is the objective, what do we want to achieve. And because we've gone through the first part of the planning process, all it is like copy and paste into here, right? Plan who's going to do it. Okay, so now that we've done all those pieces, we've identified some of the resources we need, who's going to be involved, right? And then get really detailed as to be out of all those people that are involved, who's going to do what, right? How are they going to do it? And who is going to do what and when? And the last piece to that planning stage for your flawless execution model is what are the resources that we need to get it done? So, you know, we go back to the painter or the Kilimanjaro, the painter, you know, he's going to need a truck, he's going to need supplies, he's going to need tools and equipment. And the same thing with, if you're going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, you're going to need guides, you're going to need mountain climbing equipment, you're going to need overnight equipment, you're going to need food and all that other good stuff that goes with it. You're going to need a tent, you know. So, I mean, there's a lot to go into the planning. And if you try to climb Mount Kilimanjaro without a plan, or if you go to paint a house without a plan, you are going to get yourself into a world of hurt. It's going to end up costing you more, either time or money, or both, or it's going to end up being a disaster, which is in the end run going to cost you more time and more money, right? So once you've got the plan done, now you're going to take that plan that you've compiled from the previous business plan, and you're going to brief it to the team that's going to be involved. Now, if it's just you, you're going to go over and go, yeah, I got this, I got this, I got this. If it's your team, you're going to be very detailed in saying, hey, John, you're going to do this, and this is when you need to do it by. Fred, you're going to do this, and this is when you need to do it by, and this is how you should do it. You don't necessarily need to get micromanaging, right? But, you know, this is what you need to do when you need to do it by. And, you know, if they're really good at their jobs, let them figure out how they're going to do it. Once that is done, once all the people that are done in there, you've briefed everyone on what you want done, I want you to keep in mind, go over it one more time, because the biggest failure in briefing and executing a plan, no matter what it is, the biggest failure in there is the lack of communication, right? When we go back and we debrief, there's always a need for better communication, right? There's always a need, you know, number one thing shows up, you know, better communication. We needed better communication. We didn't know about that. We didn't know about this. You know, we didn't know about that permit not being pulled. We didn't know about not having the right paint. And so you end up looking kind of foolish and sheepish with egg on your face at a job site, especially when you don't have the right information, right? So go back and brief it one more time just to make sure everybody's clear. And then if you want, just to make sure they're clear, get them to brief you on what they just heard, right? Tracking. Next step is tracking. So third step, tracking is, you know, how are you going to measure the success of this project? How are you going to measure the success of this executionable project, right? So we want to look at that. How will you know? Then, of course, time to do it. You know, execute. Let's get out there, make it happen. And that is when everything in the planning stage has either been done well or it's been done poorly, is in the quality of the execution. If everything goes off well, boom, 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 and it's executed, customers happy, cleanup's great, and you get raving reviews, you know you planned properly and you executed properly. But it doesn't stop there, right? The most important step of this whole process is the next step, and that's the debrief, right? The debrief is where you will go in, sit down with everybody that was involved in the execution of that project and say, hey, how did it go? What went well? And then ask the question, why did it go well, right? What went wrong? And why did it go wrong? And take notes on all this stuff. Take notes, listen to what everyone has to say on the team about what their input, their perspective, and what they saw going right or going wrong happen. Don't just take, you know, a group speakers word for it. You know, be willing to dig in deep and find out, because in those moments of digging in deep to your team and finding out, you're going to do two things. First one is you're going to find out what the problem really was. And the second one is your staff are going to identify that you really care about helping them do the best job that they can do by providing them the right resources to help set them up for success instead of setting them up for failure. And I've been there. I've done both, right? So success, way more fun. It's way easier on your stress, right? And then finally, what you want to ask yourself is, with all those things that went right, went wrong, what went mediocre, what can we improve on, and how can we improve on? And then the last step is take all that information, put it back into your next planning session, right? And in next planning session, you're going to go through the same process. You're going to incorporate these new learnings, these lessons learned from this past job. You're going to put them into the new plan, and then you're going to brief the new plan. You're going to go execute the new plan, and then you're going to debrief, apply any new learnings, new lessons to the new plan, and then just keep doing that process over and over and over again. And it sounds like it's kind of a waste of time, but it's not. It becomes the most important tool that you guys will ever implement into your business to help you guys improve your business. And it will actually help you guys grow exponentially. You'll start getting to a point in your business where you don't have the wheels falling off, where everything is running like a Swiss watch, because you're always looking at different ways to improve your business by using this simple process, right? So if you guys have, that's it. So if you guys have any questions around my version of planning, execution, and improvement, by all means, reach out to me, make some comments down below. I'll get back to you as quick as possible. If you want some copies of the tools, this planning tool, the cash flow projection tool, and anything else, feel free to DM me and I'll send you a copy of it. Also, if you guys want more resources, go to my website at businessimpact.ca/products. And there you'll find a whole bunch of videos on what you guys can do to grow your business, right? And if you want, feel free to reach out and book a time. You can go to my website, businessimpact.ca/contact, reach out and connect. And if I'm not mistaken, there is a connect button or contact button on just about every page on my website. So feel free to connect there. And you know what? Until next time, take this information, apply it to your business, and you're going to succeed in some way, shape, or form. It might not happen overnight. Business is not get rich quick. And, I don't care what anybody says. Business is about consistency, persistency, and commitment. And if you're the kind of business owner that has that consistency, has that dedication, that commitment to growing your business, you will be successful if you have the right tools. So until next time, you guys, it's been a pleasure. I love sharing this with you. If you have any comments of some other stuff you'd like to see here or have me share, feel free to reach out. I'll also be doing another podcast interview next week. So look forward to that as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Love you guys. Till next time.